In Unit 4 for the assignment and participation activity, we're going to look at this pizza ordering app that's largely done, but you're going to have to make some small changes on it. This will make sure you're getting into GitHub and getting an assignment working GitHub, because we'll be using GitHub as a cloud-based storage system for our code, providing source examples through that and expecting you to submit assignments for that. It also gets you making sure you can integrate this well in Android Studio and use Android Studio to build and run an app. Uh, so we'll set that up. So the first thing you want to do is get a GitHub account. Um, and there's a student version of this which has more features, but either one, or if you already have a GitHub account, any sort of GitHub account will work fine. GitHub account also works with Git. So Git is our source control system. It tracks changes to all of our files and does version control on them that makes sure we have we every time we change them we can go back and that sort of stuff. So we have this version control system called Git. It's probably installed, I think, already by default on Unix and Mac systems, but on Windows machines you may have to go here and download it and set that up. So if you don't have it there, at some point Android Studio will tell you that it can't find Git, and that'll remind you to do this. GitHub is this cloud-based account. You want to sign up for an account here and just make sure you keep track of your username and your password, because you'll need that to log in at times. Okay, so once we got that set up, we're going to run Android Studio here. Here's our projects we've opened so far, and we're going to go into this third option, check out a project from from version control, and choose GitHub here. Okay, then it'll ask us for a URL for accessing that. Now it may also ask you to log into GitHub at some point here, but here it's going to ask us for the URL. So now we're going to go back here. I should have done this originally. So it says I'm going to download the project from GitHub or use the starting link. These both point to the same area. It'll bring us to a area here. When you do it first time, you'll have to accept the assignment and it'll create this link. It might take a sec for do it, but eventually it'll provide you this link. So this is the link we want to grab. And I can also, if I go to that link, um, I can see my code and information on this project here. This is this link, and this is the same URL. So I can also grab this up here. And I'll return here and I can watch commits to make sure my changes are updated here. Okay, so I've grabbed that URL, either this one or this one, they're the same. Go into GitHub, I'm going to delete this one and paste in this new one. I'm going to paste in the value here for the URL so we can get the right one. This is the parent directory. Again, this is where it's going to be stored, and this is the directory name. I've already done this before, so it's saying this folder is already there, so I'm going to add something to that to make it a different folder. And then I'm going to hit clone. This will copy the files from GitHub down to your computer. It says, do you want to open it? And you want to say yes, and it'll open it. You might get some errors here that these projects are having trouble loaded in. You can hit details here and delete those. I'm not going to do that right now, but I'll show you later if you don't see them here where you can get them. There are some files that GitHub just Android Studio needs to rebuild, and they're not in here, or they're in here wrong. The way Git does this, it just there seems to be an error in the current version right now. So I should wait. Gradle should finish building. At this point, it might ask you to download some additional files for Android, different versions of Android or stuff. If the project is built or set up for a different version of Android than you have downloaded, you might have to download some tools or something like that, so watch for that. I should see my project over here. I have it in Android view on here, and then here's my Java files that are here, and under resources, here's my layout file that's here. I should be able to go out in the layout file and see it appear here. Now I see this error here with this event log. I'm going to click on that. said air loading project details. It says there's these two files, and they tend to be IML files right now, and I'm just going to remove those and have it rebuild this. So I'm just going to go up to build and do a rebuild of the project then. Now, for some reason, again, I should be able to go into my main activity here, and it should be able to display in the actual layout of the app, and it's not showing. Now, if it doesn't, I usually go in here and make sure the theme is set correctly, and it's actually having trouble doing that. For some reason, with my current, on this machine, there's a problem with the Gradle. Gradle is my build environment. So I'm just going to go through and set that up. I'm going to go into build here, Gradle. And I see it, the location of the Gradle is wrong. Gradle's updated itself, but for some reason on this machine it didn't update this. It usually should do that automatically, but for some reason it didn't update it. So I'm just going to reset that. I'm not sure why. I've never seen that error before, but it's happening here. Of course, while I'm recording it. But again, that's part of this thing. We want to make sure you get these programs up and running. We want to be able to make sure I can push things up to GitHub's assignment and you can download them and we can work through these errors. So that's kind of the goal of this first assignment, is to work through any of these errors we see. Now, I'm still not seeing this assignment here, but I think I'm getting closer. I'm going to go up to themes, and now I see all my themes. This is looking good. And again, I usually just switch to the material light theme. I like the looks of that, and that will display this. Okay. Now you will see this design and blueprint mode where it shows both. I usually like that, but I'm on a little tiny screen as far as recording, so I'm just going to switch this to design mode and just see that. Okay. So let's look at our files here. In Java, we've got three main Java files. We have the main activity, we have pizza order, and we have pizza. And let's look at how those are set up. So we have our main activity, which is our Android activity that's run and interfaces with the Android OS. This handles the button clicks, the radio buttons, those sorts of stuff. All the user interface stuff is here. And this is our link to the XML file for the layout of the screen. Okay. We've moved the logic for the pizza into this pizza order system. So there's a method called a class called pizza order with some methods in here for handling pizza orders. And that also uses an actual pizza class. It creates a pizza class and uses this. Now this is our generic model view presenter. So this is our data model, this is our view, and this is our presenter or controller. The reason I'm saying it's a presenter is that we have interfaces here. So the only way the main activity communicates with the pizza order system is through an interface, and same, the pizza order only communicates through the interface to the main activity. This means that all this code over here is straight Java code, and we can hopefully port that to other systems, and all the Android code is located kind of behind these interfaces here. So let's look and see how that's going to work in just a sec. Now, I'll just mention the data model here is just a pizza object. Usually this would be like a database interface, or we'd be going to an SQL or non-SQL database and storing things and getting things out of there. But again, I'm keeping this simple. You don't know how to do any of that yet. Later on in the course, we'll do that. So all we have is a pizza object, and inside pizza order is an array list of these pizza objects to keep track of. So real basic data model here, because again we're kind of focusing on this part of the interface for now. Okay, so if we look at our code, the main activity handles our interfaces to our XML file, and let's just go over what has to be done there. So again, we've got some radio buttons here, like this one's called radio, the ID is called radio button medium. We've got a spinner here, spinner toppings. We've got a checkbox order, cheese, and a button order for doing that. We've got to access all of these things, these radio buttons, two checkboxes, a button, a spinner, and we've got some text views down here will be displaying information. We need to access all this stuff from code. So in our main activity, we declare variables. So every radio button gets a variable, every checkbox gets a variable, every text view gets a variable, and the spinner gets a variable. So all that is done here. We also have an order system, and we'll get that in a sec. But all those are set up here. And then that's in our main activity. In the onCreate method, this is kind of our constructor. We've got to link those all to our views. So like each of the radio buttons here, radio button medium, we go find view by ID, and we specify the ID of the radio button, r.id.radio button. Again, once you start typing this in, the autofill fills this stuff in quite well. So it's not actually that hard to start learning to type in this code. And I've got this filled in by on this assignment, but in future assignments, you'll be doing this yourself. So our radio buttons, here's our checkboxes set up. Again, just casting it to the right type, calling find view by ID, and linking into the right thing. So this is the ID that's defined in the XML. So that has to match this ID up here. Even if it's spelled wrong, you still have to match it correctly. So we've set up those variables, and again, same with our text variables here, and link those in. Same with our spinner here. Now, just a brief thing on spinners. I used to have students create and set up the spinner in this lesson but I've decided to move that, and next week we'll look at spinners more and arrays and tying in arrays to this, which gets a little more complicated. So I'll just point out quickly how that's done here. So if we run our app and look at our spinner, so again, these are our radio buttons, and then this is our spinner. It's just what I would call a drop-down box. It lets us select different options from a list. So right now, just pizza, chicken, and vegetarian are my 3 toppings of choice. So let's look at how that has to be set up here. So again, we have our spinner here in our layout. But the actual array values come from this string array. So, and we'll be using this more, this string.xml file. So it's in resources, values is the folder, and then it's string.xml. Open that up and look at that. And this is a string array here. I call it toppings, and then there's each item is specified using an XML format with tags, pepperoni, chicken, and vegetarian. So again, I'm not going to go into too much detail right now, but just going to show you that that's how it's set up. And then in our main activity, we say at arrays.topping. We'll be using this at arrays.topping fair amounts because we're going to move most of these areas. So like right now in string.xml, the size of the pizza, medium pizza, large pizza, those things are there. And so here, these values are actually coming from the act string.medium pizza thing. So we are going to pull most of this hard-coded text out into the string file. That'll let us change this for different languages, a process called localization, so we can easily make our app run in multiple different languages. In fact, if I look here, I'll see warnings. If I click on the warnings, you'll see for now a lot of these warnings on hard-coded examples. So like this checkbox here is saying there's a warning here that there's a hard-coded text thing, and it'll actually fix that and extract this for us and put it into the string file. And again, we'll look at this more later on, how we can get this information into the string file and localize it here, but we're not going to deal with that too much right now. So again, this list of toppings is tied to the string file here and running there. So main activity, again, we've set up all the radio buttons, checkboxes, the text things, and the spinner is all set up here. Now let's look at how we might use the pizza ordering system. So again, this is this interface here. So our main activity is going to use this pizza order interface to access the pizza order class. So here's the pizza order class. It implements our interface and lets us we create the pizza order thing. We also can order pizzas, we can get the total bill, we can get a price of a pizza, large, small, or whatever. We can get the price, if we add extra cheese, how much that will cost. We can set or get the delivery, and then we'll get down to this timer in a little bit. So that's our pizza class, but it operates through this interface. So this interface sits between the main activity and the pizza object, and it defines the methods that we're going to use. Order pizza, get total bill, get price, get extra cheese price, get and set delivery. So this defines all this interface between the two. Again, because we're going to separate the Android stuff from the straight Java stuff here. As we go. So this is how we've got this set up. Now the pizza order class, when we order a pizza, it's actually going to create a pizza object. So we have a pizza object which just keeps track of the toppings, the extra cheese, the size, the price, the description of the pizza, stores information on that. It has a constructor and it has a get price and then a toString that will return a description of it. It also defines an enumerated type for the size of the pizza, small, medium, large. So there's an enumerated type for that. And then it has constants for the price. And again, some of this should be somewhere else in the database or of external files. But again, we're keeping this data model relatively simple here. So here's our interface to the pizza order system that we're working with here. So let's look at how we set that up in the main activity. In the main activity, we declare a pizza order system, and it's of type of the interface. So when we define it, the type is the interface. But then when we instantiate it here in the onCreate, kind of like the constructor here, we say new pizza order. So we instantiate this because pizza order implements that interface and implements all these methods that are required for that. So we implement that here. And set that up. And so then when we go down here, when the user clicks a button for the order, we are then using our pizza order system to order a pizza, and we're ordering a pepperoni large without extra cheese. You'll notice these, you may not have seen these before. It's putting in the names of the parameters here. It does this automatically. You just type in as normal, and this IDE puts the parameter names in it. So it goes, looks here at what the parameter names are and fills those in so you have the right ones here. So those parameters are, the parameter names are filled in automatically for us. It's just a part of this IDE. Now your job in the assignment is going to be, one of your jobs is to add in some stuff, some logic in here. Right now it's always ordering a large pepperoni pizza. Your job is to use the radio buttons, check which radio button is selected, and use that to change this string to large, medium, or small. Here, again, look at what spinner item is selected. And again, there's details on that in the assignment here on how you can get which item is selected and things like that. And again, there's a little bit more in the tip calculator example we did. You did as an overview for this unit. So that's order a pizza. We also then put some information. This toast pops up a little message saying we ordered a pizza. We use the pizza order system to get the bill. So again, we go out to the pizza order system. It comes back, gives us a bill. And then we also have a text box at the bottom, a multi-line text box where we append the name of the pizza we have there. So let's just see how this works a little bit, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the next part of this, the interface backwards. So right now we have this and we have the pizza order interface, but the question is, why do we need this interface going back, and what does this do? So I'm going to run this. So here's my interface. I can select a pizza, select a topping, and then hit order, and it'll display the price here, it'll display the orders, and if I can order another pizza, it will. Now notice it's always ordering a large pepperoni pizza again because I'm totally ignoring whatever I choose here. It doesn't matter what I choose here. And that's again what you're going to have to fix, is that if I select vegetarian order, it doesn't keep ordering a large pepperoni pizza. But now watch this. This update order status is saying that pizza's baking now, and that pizza. This comes. There's a pizza app I use to order pizza, and when it has a little display here showing that where the pizza is and if it's being, where when it's ready and when it's being delivered and that sort of stuff, and updates in real time. So we have something like that here on order status. So let's look at how that works. So this. To do this, we need the pizza order system to be able to communicate back to the main activity. Kind of in an asynchronous manner. Whenever something's ready, it needs to be able to update the interface. So we've got an interface here defined called update view interface, and it just has one method, update order status in view, and this is used to update the order status. In the main activity, there's this method update order status, and it just sets the text of the order status to order status and whatever string is passed to it. Our main activity here then, it usually does this. It always extends this app stuff, but now we've added this implements update view interface so that it updates this. It implements this interface, meaning it implements this one method. And then so our pizza, our pizza order, what we do is we run a timer in another little class. So there's a separate little class down here that runs timer, a timer here, and it will update depending on as the timer goes ticks off. It will update send different updates things. Pizza's cooling, pizza's baking, pizza's being prepared. That sort of information is being passed back to the main activity, so it's displayed. So again, we're using this interface to update that, and this area is doing this. Now, one question is, how does the pizza order system know where the main activity is? We call this way, but how does this know how to call back here? And what we do is, when we create the pizza order system, we pass a link to the main activity to the pizza order system so that it can call this back. So let's just see how that's done real quickly. So in the main activity, when we create the pizza order system up here, we call a constructor new pizza order system, and we pass this, which is this class, the main activity, to the pizza order system. So the pizza order system in its constructor here, at the very top, its constructor, it gets the main activity here, and we keep track of this. Now, we want to, again, eliminate any Android stuff from here. So we're not going to talk about this being an Android function, app connectivity. So we have this interface here. So we declare this variable using this interface, update view interface. So we will talk to the main activity through this as if it's this interface. So we list the interface and a view here. So we just keep that in a view variable here. And again, it's not referencing anything Android, it's referencing this interface. So we have this view variable, and then that's the variable we use down here. We call view.updateOrder view here. So again, everything is done through that interface, but we pass this Android activity into the pizza order to get that up and running. So that allows us to do our communication back and forth here. So the main activity knows how to talk to the pizza through this interface, and the pizza order system then knows how to talk to the main activity through this interface also. So the one thing I want you to really do for the participation activity is to make sure you can make a change and commit that up to and send that back up to GitHub. So that's what we're going to work on now. So there are 3 lines in here, lines 37 to 39 I want in the main activity. So go into the main activity, in the onCreate method, there should be lines 37 through 39. I want you to uncomment those. Right now when it shows the radio buttons It just shows small, medium, and large pizza. It doesn't show like the price differentiation with this, so I want to display that there. But again, I don't want, I want that information to be stored in the pizza order area. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go out to the pizza order system and get the price of a small, medium, and large and display that here. We use these enumerated types that are defined in the pizza class here for displaying that. So we just say pizza.pizzaside.small. These are these enumerated constants here that we can use. And we just, and again, that's defined in our interface get price. So we can call that and get the price. And then we add that, we append that onto the text here. So if I want to look, now I've changed that, I want to run that here. I'm already running my app. I can, if I have this set up well, I can just apply these changes and it will won't reload the whole app sometimes, or it'll do it more quickly. So sometimes if you're making changes to your program, you can use this to update those changes. There's some things you may have to have set up with instant run or configurations to get this to work quickly, but you can see if that's going to work on your machine or if it's going to have to rebuild and rerun the app each time. So now it's saying the small pizza and it's displaying the price. And again, we didn't hard code this in our interface. This is coming from our pizza system. So that's what you want to do, is you just want to uncomment these 3 lines. Now we want to save those things, and this involves a 2-step process. We have to do a commit and then a push. Commit saves the changes locally, and push pushes it up to GitHub. So we're going to go. Oops, I'm going to stop this from running. And I'm going to go into the version control system and I'm going to commit the changes. So this is going to show me the files that I've changed. In fact, if I go back here, let me cancel this real quick. I should see, notice how MainActivity is blue where all these other files aren't. Also, this is blue here. So when the name of a file changes to blue, that means I've changed it, but I haven't saved it or committed it out there. So that's a hint that you haven't committed everything. So I'm going to go out here again. I'm always going to commit changes. It'll list the files that have changed up here. These files have changed, and then I have to specify a message. So this is what. So I'm going to say like for participation and updated radio buttons with the prices. So this is a message just to remind you and your team what this change actually did. And again, sometimes in version control system, you'll refer to like you're trying to fix some error, and there'll be some work order you have or some specification that you also include here. Different companies will have different requirements for this, but for us, we just have to say something about what you're doing here. It's not that important right now. Okay, so I'm going to hit commit. It says there are still some warnings. You want to hit commit here. Again, these warnings are not something we can solve because you just don't know enough stuff right now. So just ignore these warnings. Hit commit anyway, and it will commit those changes. And so now everything is black, meaning I've committed them, but they're not up there on GitHub. So if I go up on GitHub, let's see, I'm going to go into this link to the starting project, follow this link. If I actually look at the code here, one thing I can look at is the commits. This shows the different commits I've done or you've done. And again, here's the last one I did is 20 hours ago and commented out. The newest one isn't here. And also, if I were to look at the code, if I were to actually look in here, go in app, sources, main, pizza order, MainActivity, those lines are still commented out. So those changes haven't been made here. So I need to push those changes up to the cloud. So I go to version control, git, and then hit push here. and I'm just going to push them. It has the files that it's going to push up here. You're not going to worry. These are the files that are going to be being changed. I'm going to hit push, and it should push those up. I should see an update here that it's pushing those here. It shouldn't ask you to log in. It should have it should have remembered your login and stuff here, hopefully. And it says successfully pushed those out. Now, if I'm on a different computer and there are changes up there I need to pull down, I might have to, if I use a pull, that goes up to GitHub and copies those files down here. Generally, you will just be pushing, you'll be making changes and pushing them up, assuming you're just working on one computer. You don't necessarily have to do a pull. There's some details on how to use GitHub if you're using multiple computers. You might want to talk to me a little bit about that, or read this, or read some instructions. But usually you'll just have to do the commit and the push. Okay, so I'm going to follow this link again to the starting project here. Now I can see 9 commits, so I can see this updated commit. I can actually click on that and see the files that have been changed here, commented out. And then again, I'll be able to see as an instructor those same things for you. So this is how I'll grade your projects. I can look at the changes you've made. I can also look at the files themselves. I can go into the file and look and see that it's actually been changed. So main activity here. Yep, these are no longer commented out. And I can actually download the whole project and run it on my computer also for that. So that's what commit does. But basically, you should be able to go back in here, click on this link, go to this assignment, and one thing you can easily check is the commits. And you should be able to look and see your commit here. And again, 3 minutes ago I did this commit, and so that's what I want you should check and verify that's working. So that, if you can get that to work, that sets up this. I'm also, for the assignment, like I say, you'll do some more changes to this, working so you can order different types of pizza. Right now, when I run this, I order a medium. I can switch this to a chicken pizza, and I order it, and it orders a large pepperoni pizza. It doesn't matter what I click on here. Those are ignored by the code. And just always orders a large pepperoni pizza here. So again, your job is to go into the code here under the main activity where it says students need to add code here and modify this order. Right now it's hard coded into always order a large pepperoni pizza. You need to look at the radio buttons, and depending on what they are, set the size, check the checkbox for extra cheese, and check the spinner for the topping and set that up correctly. And then again, you need to push those changes up to GitHub. Commit those changes and then push them up to GitHub. So what do you have to submit here? All you have to do is submit a note, a quick message to me. Just hit submit on the assignment and say I committed, or something like that. If your GitHub name is not obvious from your name, you might want to include that. When I log into this system, I will see this. So when I log in, I'll go to our class, and I'll see the different projects here, and I can go into one of these, and I can see everyone who commits. And so I can see I'm the only one who's committed so far, and I can look at that. But again, on some of these other projects, I'll see there'll be lots of commits. And usually I can tell who's committed these, but sometimes the name here, this is a plum, I don't know who that is. And so if you have a strange login name like that, just make sure in the when you submit, you include that so I know who you are. I'm going to show you a little bit on how to run these. If you want to listen to the rest of the video, I'll just talk a little bit about running this on a machine, on a device, and on emulator. If you've got that working, you can skip the rest of this lecture. Okay, so let's talk a little bit. I've got my Android device plugged into this machine, and so I can hit run to run it there. Let me stop this. Okay, so if I hit run, it'll show me two options. I've set up a virtual machine here. I've created a virtual machine. I did that in an earlier lesson here. And then I've got my tablet plugged in. So if I just click on OK, run it on this tablet, it'll transfer the app to the tablet. The tablet's plugged in through a USB cable and it should run. And I'm mirroring that on my screen here. So this is actually showing up on my tablet next to me, but I'm mirroring it on my screen here so you can see it. And again, I can control that from my tablet and run it there. So that's one way to do this, is through a plugged-in device. The other thing is to run it through an emulator. You can run here. I've created a virtual device here, and I can run that. When I run that, that'll pop up the emulator. It should load the state and load the emulator up, and then wait. It often takes a minute or so to get the emulator run, and it should basically load up an Android machine and start it up from scratch, and then it will run that. My emulator right now seems to be having a problem, and so it's restarting the emulator. Once you get your emulator running and up and going, you should be able to keep it up and running as you make changes, open up different projects and stuff. So here's my emulator running now, and again, I can use this through the mouse on my screen. And I can mention also, if I make changes to the code here, like here, I'm going to change, so medium pizza is wrong. That's in my strings file. Let's see if I can just make that change real quick. Change that. Oops. There. Save that. Now I'm going to rerun this. So I'm going to hit this apply changes, and then it should quickly apply those changes, maybe refresh my screen here and do it. So that should be a faster way to apply some changes to it. So now here already the changes have been applied and it's been fixed. So as you make changes to your code, if you keep this running, you can apply changes. Sometimes you do have to hit stop and rerun the app, but again, even doing that, you should be able to keep this emulator up and running if you're using the emulator for this. Again, the main goal of this assignment is to get you up and running with Android Studio, and get you up and running with GitHub, being able to download these assignments and do that, so that in future assignments you'll be able to do. You have to watch, again, there might be some updates you have to run on Android Studio, so you can watch this. I'm not getting instant run to run here, which is helps with that quick runability on my actual physical device. So, okay, feel free to call, text me if you have questions.